What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD, and today we're going to be talking about the ISOM number 2 campaign. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of ISOM number 2, you should note that I did review ISOM number 1. I'll put a link at the end of this video to that if you want to check that out. I also threw together a playlist of all my ISOM coverage, so if you're interested in what I had to say about the previous ISOM, be sure to check that out. With that said, I know people coming to this video, seeing the thumbnail, are going to say, I'm a hater, I'm a crackhead, I'm a detractor, all kinds of things. But I just want to let you know that yes, I did order ISOM number 2. As you can see, I got cover A. I did not get cover B, which was done by EBS. I didn't know until after I had already made my purchase, or I would have gotten cover B because I do love Ethan's work. Big fan of Cyberfrog. I just actually bought the new Cyberfrog that just came out, as well as picked up Wrecked Planet and a physical copy of Blood Honey. With that out of the way, let's take a look at ISOM number 2's campaign. Now, if you can't read it, don't worry, because I'm going to read it for you. This is the ISOM number 2 pre-order campaign. As you can see, fulfillment starts 7/31/23. Already, just in this snapshot, we got almost 5,000 cover A's, almost 5,500 cover B's, and cover C, which was the $100 cover, it's got almost 2,000. So he's doing really good so far. On his way to 900,000 at the time of this recording. There was some snafu with the website. It went down from overuse. There was some maintenance done to it. So I'm sure he would have been almost at 1 million already had that not happened. With that said, we all know that making money does not equal quality, or else the Disney Star Wars trilogy would be considered the greatest Star Wars movies of all time, right? Because they made a lot of money. Maybe not as much money as predicted, but they did still all make good money. I think 2 of them even broke $1 billion. And we know those movies were not good at all. So making money is nice, but it is not an indication of quality. We will save the trailer to the end. It is an animated trailer. I did watch it already. It's pretty nice. I got some thoughts on that. But let's take a look at the short story for ISOM number 2. So it says, short story introducing the highly anticipated graphic novel ISOM number 2 from Rippaverse. Right off the bat, first sentence, and we have a grammatical error. It should say introducing the highly anticipated graphic novel ISOM number 2 from the Rippaverse. The Rippaverse. You need a the in there, or else, because you don't read ISOM number 2, you have the commas, right? So that's almost a side way. You can get rid of that. It would say introducing the highly anticipated graphic novel from Rippaverse. You need a the. It's from the Rippaverse. Just like last time, not filling me with a sense of joy. Just reading, having a grammatical error at the very beginning. I know a lot of Rippaverse fans don't care. They say, Tony, you're nitpicking. You pick all the little nits. But it matters. Story matters, right? Writing matters. And the quality of writing on the website is going to be an indication of the quality of writing in the book. The first one had really bad writing. None of the characters felt like they had their own voice. They all felt flat, generic. The story went nowhere. It was almost like 90 pages of prequel to number 2, right? And issue number 1 is a 90-page prequel to issue number 2. Now, before we go any further, I'm sure you're thinking, what does this guy have to offer? Why is he making this critique? Who is he? Well, just so you know, I've been reading comics for over 35 years. So right off the bat, I got that going for me. For the last 20 years, I've been paid by various websites to critique all sorts of media, from comic books, movies, TV shows, video games. So I got that going for me. On top of that, I've been contacted to write a pilot for a animated television show in the past, so I got that going for me. And just recently, I was commissioned to write dialogue for a recently released video game. So again, I got that going for me. So I do have some credentials. I do have some sort of knowledge in this area about writing and critique. Moving on. Immerse yourself in a thrilling adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat as we follow Avery, a Texas Ranger forced to put his suit back on as he navigates a world of danger and intrigue. And he isn't alone. Wow, that's so generic. That is so generic. It literally tells you nothing about what this is about. Why would you buy a comic based on this little short story, this little blurb here? All right, with stunning artwork by Cliff Richards. If Cliff did the artwork in the first one, it wasn't really stunning. It was passable. It was passable artwork, not stunning. Coloring by Gabe L. Taib. The coloring was inconsistent. There were moments when Isom's suit was very different colors. Lettering by Eric Weathers. The lettering in the last issue was fine. And a gripping storyline by Eric July. No, the storyline wasn't very gripping. There was barely any. It was the thinnest of thin plots in the last issue. Not a gripping storyline. I'm not on the edge of my seat anticipating what's going to happen next. This graphic novel is a must-read for fans of the traditional superhero genre. Except the first book wasn't a traditional superhero comic. If Eric July set out to create a traditional superhero comic in the vein of a DC or Marvel, he failed. He failed because ISOM #1 is anything but a traditional superhero comic. We don't get a proper origin. We don't know anything about his powers. We don't know anything about the world. There was no world building in ISOM #1. It was very poorly written. And if you're a follower of the Dick Show, if you're a follower of The Biggest Problem in the Universe, you can see that they even had a 5th grade teacher critique ISOM #1. And the teacher was appalled by how bad the story was. It says, you'll be hooked on the action-packed story from the first page to the last. Again, it was not an action-packed story. There was a few pages of action. There was some action, but it wasn't action-packed. Pre-order your copy today and you'll be one of the first to experience the excitement of Rippaverse's latest issue of the Ill-Advised arc. Again, like I said last time, this was really weird. First issue, you have it as the first part of an arc. The first issue is the first part of an arc. It's just the first issue. There shouldn't be any arc. There should be no ill-advised arc, right? You start having arcs after you've established your character, you've established storylines, you've established the world. You've done none of that. There should be no arc. You see, arcs, you can take them out of the larger story and the larger story still works. If there is no larger story, then there is no arc. It is just the story. The ill-advised arc is just the current story, is the current issues of ISOM, which there's only one available and another one coming out. It's like Eric knows that there's arcs and there's certain things in comics, but he doesn't know how to use them, right? He knows terms, but he doesn't know exactly what they are. All right, it says the target audience for ISOM is early teens and up due to comic violence. There is no explicit gore, sexuality, or language in the book. Well, thank God for that. Thank God there's no explicit gore, sexuality, or language in the book. The violence was not over the top. It was, typical superhero violence. Some of it wasn't even shown properly, which was one of the criticisms that I had of the last issue. All right, moving down the page, we got About the Ill-Advised Arc. The story so far. Avery Silman is thrown into a world he thought was behind him when he hung up his suit and must decide if wearing the mantle again is the best course of action. Oh my God, just the grammatical errors in this website, the grammatical errors are just too much. It makes my brain hurt. He must decide if wearing the mantle again is the best course of action, except for you mentioned no mantle. You mentioned his suit. He hung up his suit. A suit is not a mantle. Right? A name is a mantle. An identity is a mantle. Right? He didn't even put his super suit, his superhero suit, his superhero identity. If you put thrown into a world thought was behind him when he hung up his suit and gave up his identity, and now must decide if he's wearing the mantle again is the best course, that would make more sense. It's like half thoughts, right? It's like I can see where you're trying to go with this, but you just don't have the skills, the writing ability to get there, right? It's like you're halfway there, you're almost there, but you just don't quite make it. It says, in issue 1, Avery's sister, Altona, calls Avery to have him investigate the disappearance of a young woman who was last seen with former friend Darren Fontano. That's the basic plot of the whole thing. His sister calls him, says, hey, there's this chick that I need you to look for because Mrs. Newman She's very worried about her daughter. You need to go save Mrs. Newman's daughter. But Darren had changed since he was hanging out with Avery when they were young. Wow, this is just bad writing. It shouldn't be but. Starting with a sentence with but is really bad grammar. It's not terrible. You can do it, but it just looks bad. It's not very professional. You could have just started with Darren, right? Last seen with former friend Darren Fontano, and then you period, and then put Darren has changed, not had changed. Saying Darren had changed means that he's no longer changed, right? He had changed. He became different, but he's no longer different because had is the past, right? Had is the past. If you put Darren has changed since he was hanging out with Avery when they were young, that means he's no longer the same as he was when they were young. Putting had means Darren had changed since he was hanging out with Avery when they were young, but now he's no longer changed, right? Because had. It's like saying he had a lollipop, and now we know he no longer has it because had is in the past. Had is a past version of the word has. Has is what he needed. But Darren has changed. I mean, again, simple grammar, and the website trying to sell me on the comic can't even get the simple grammar correct. This is going to be a long video. It's going to be a long one. Instead of the friend he knew, Darren has become a cold-blooded shot caller and one of the most feared men in the city. Nothing particularly wrong about that. It's a lot of description for one guy who we barely saw anything of. He's sort of like the kingpin, I guess, of this universe. Alright, so the visit turns into one of the longest days in Avery's life. Around these parts, people call, quote, special beings, accepts. And unfortunately for Avery, he has the luxury of running to some of them. Why is he using all these little small sentences? You can make bigger sentences. You can make longer thoughts. Also, you shouldn't start the sentence with and. That's, again, it's just like but. You really don't need it. You could have just put, unfortunately for Avery, he has the luxury of running into some of them. Again, it wouldn't be the luxury, right? This should have been had. He had the luxury of running into some of them. Because, again, this happened already. This is in the previous issue. He probably should have had the misfortune of running into them, not the luxury. Luxury would make it sound like it's good, right? You know, having the luxury of something is a good thing. You put unfortunately, so you're telling me it's a bad thing, but then you put luxury, has the luxury of running into, which means it's a good thing, right? It's like I had the luxury of tasting steak for the first time in years. After being in prison, Darren has the luxury of being able to drink again, right? That is how you use it in the correct verbiage. Using it this way makes no damn sense. This is why ISOM number 1 was so terrible, because he can't even write a description about ISOM without fucking it up. The Alpha Core and Yara have their own set of conflicts, while the living tank known as Santuan reappeared to add more difficulty to Avery's life. This is like two different thoughts. The Alpha Core and Yara have their own set of conflicts. Okay, what does that have to do with Avery? I don't know, because now we're talking about Santuan in the second half of the sentence. It's like you fooled me in the first half, right? Again, this is really bad grammar, really bad writing, and it really didn't tell me anything about what happened last issue. The story so far, you really failed on this part. Again, you want to get me excited for issue number 2, and you really haven't even told me what happened in the previous issue. What did I miss out on? Why should I have picked it up? Why should I go back and pick up number 1? What are the consequences of Avery's choices in part 1? What choices? He didn't make any choices. The only choices he made was run away from the cops and beat up a bunch of women and threaten a bunch of people, right? He threatened a bunch of women that were just trying to enjoy a club. He beat up a bunch of security guards who asked him nicely to leave the club. And he chose to run away from the police after he was in the hospital, right? He went to the hospital, he was taken to the hospital, and then he chose to run away. Why, we don't know. Those are the only choices he made. Who will come to his aid? No idea. You introduced like 8 characters in ISOM number 1 without actually telling us anything about any of them. He was just like, hey, look, there's a guy. He's something. He's important. Look at him. But I'm not going to tell you his name or what he does or anything. Just, he's important. There he is. Grab ISOM number 2, Ill-Advised, Part 2, and find out for yourself. Again, you really don't need to call this an arc because the comic just started. There's no need for an arc yet. It's just the comic. It's just ISOM's comic, right? Spider-Man didn't start off with an arc. It wasn't called the origin arc. It was just Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, 4. You didn't get an arc until you established a comic and then you started doing a multi-part story within the comic. ISOM doesn't have a regular schedule. It's not a weekly comic. It doesn't come out every month, right? So you really can't have an arc. It's a really poor form. All right, but we got some pictures. We're going to look at some interiors from the book. Now, this is supposed to sell me on the book, right? We're going to show you some interiors from the book to get you excited. I get a plain shot of Club Merc. Not excited. I get a shot of what I suppose is Darren Fontaine with a bunch of people at his desk. Wow, exciting. Darren holding his hand open. I'm excited. Man, I want this book. This is so gripping, the shots that they've chosen to use. Oh, look, there's a guy pointing. And now Derek Fontaine is wiggling his fingers. Man, the excitement in these pages. I'm glad that they chose these pages because, oof, so excited. So excited for this book. Let's see what the other image is. We got ISOM. He's fighting what appears to be some sort of weird Wendigo creatures. No context for what's going on here. Kind of weird. You go from fighting regular dudes to now he's fighting Sasquatches. Also, the Sasquatches, they have a lot of detail on the faces, but ISOM, not so much, right? This is a problem with the art in the book, the inconsistency. Sometimes the faces have a lot of detail, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the backgrounds have details, sometimes they don't. The shading, the shadows are all over the place. Just in this shot alone, we got this shadow here. So it's not a complete shadow because we can see color. So whatever's blocking this is only blocking partial, but now we got sunlight coming on the back of this guy's arm, which means there should be sunlight over here. We got it on the back of this arm, but also on this front leg and this side arm. Where is the sun? Where is the source of light in this image is what I'm saying, right? Because the shadows, again, all over the place, especially in the background, because it looks more like they just didn't want to detail a lot of things in the background and they just kind of wanted to throw it together, slap it together. Also, if you look in the background, if you look at this is almost identical to this one here. So just using the same image. This one here appears to be this one flipped. So it's a lot of cutting and pasting, it appears. Shrinking, making them all black. And I'm not an art major, right? And I can notice these things. So, again, why are other people just giving it a pass? Look, we have a shadow here on his face, but his back has no shadow. No shadow. Why is the shadow on this part of his face? A little bit here. Where is this source of light? We got a shadow here. Nothing here. His chest looks weird. It's weirdly round. His neck almost disappeared. And again, this is the art he chooses to highlight to sell you on the book. I know the Rippaverse fans, they don't care about quality. It's not about quality. It's just about supporting Eric. It's about sticking it to the MCU. It's about sticking it to DC. And we're just going to support this blindly, right? Say what you will about Ethan Van Sciver. At least the art in Cyberfrog is some of the prettiest art I've seen. It is fantastic. I can't say enough. When I reviewed it, I think that was one of the things that I was really over the moon about was the art and how beautiful each and every panel looked. But not ISOM. Like the art in ISOM is so subpar. It's just passable. All right, we got more interior art. Look at this. We got Isom in a car with some robots waving to him. Presumably Isom standing outside a house. Isom in a bed. Man, look at this. It's so compelling. We got Isom punching a punching bag. Isom looking at a box. Looking closer at the box. Oh, now the box has changed shape because now it's a suitcase. It's not a box. Now he's opening the suitcase. Now he's got his suit. Look at that. Isom's super suit is in the case with a nice little cross and the little belt. So, man, are you excited? I'm so excited. This art has gotten me so excited. Let's take a look at the covers for Isom number 2. All right, so I zoomed in so we get a really good look at this art. As you can see, for some reason, Isom's little design, his little cross, went from gold to now it's black. The T-like pattern on his chest has now changed. It now goes all the way up under his arm, so you got all the black on the side. It's black and what appears to be a light orange. Isom has a little bit of a fro. Typically, he has short hair, but in this, he has a little bit of a fro. He doesn't have his beard. His face is completely different. You can even see the background Isom. His face looks completely different from the foreground main Isom. The character that he's fighting, I don't know its name. I think Eric mentioned his name on probably a podcast or something. I don't follow him, so I don't know the name of the character. But it's not egregious about it. It just looks like a big, hulking brute type character. This is the cover that I got. So, all right, this is the Ethan Van Sciver cover B. As you can see, now we got gold on the Isom belt. We get the T back. The arms are different. The amount of what is a darker orange and little bits of yellow in it. Isom himself has different color kind of hair, right? It's shorter hair. It's not so much of an afro. And this is a brand new character, right? I talked about this last time. You got to stay on model, right? In order to establish what your character looks like, in order to establish who he is, right? You have to stay on model. This isn't fan art. This isn't some kid drawing it. This is your professional version of the character, right? This is going to be on the cover. It should represent the character accurately, right? Batman is always drawn a certain way by a certain artist. And that suit, the look, stays with him throughout that run, right? Isom is a brand new character, just introduced. You want to keep him on model. We don't have a lot of, reference material for what he looks like, so you want to keep him consistent as much as you can until he's established, right? Later on, you can change it up. You have this different artists, have different interpretations of the suit. But off jump, right out the gate, you probably should keep him on model. That way, it's a consistent look all throughout the book. People know what he looks like. He becomes familiar, easily recognizable. The creatures that he's fighting look very different from the ones from the interior of the book. These look more spider-like. Got almost spider-like arms, lots of extra eyes. I don't know if this is just for the cover or what, or this is a different creature, a different version of that same creature that he's fighting in the interior pages. Again, you want to have consistency, right? You want to say, hey, EVS, I want you to draw the cover. These are what the characters look like, right? This is what Isom looks like. This is what his suit looks like. These are what the bad guys that he's going to be fighting look like, so they can stay on brand. Ethan can still put his own spin on it, his own touch, but they stay more or less consistent, right? It's very off-putting when you have this on the cover and then you're going to go inside and it's a completely different look on the creatures he's fighting. We also have this character, another new character, no idea what the character's name is. She looks to be some sort of witch cowboy, cowgirl, I don't know. And my guess is if Isom is a self-insert for Eric, then this is going to be a self-insert for Eric's wife. Again, we have no idea who she is. She was never introduced in the first book. I have no idea if this character is even going to be in the second book, right? My guess is probably this will be the character that comes to save and rescue Isom or help Isom out. I don't know if maybe this is Jasmine, the woman he's looking for, and maybe she has powers and she's been going undercover in Darren's operation, and that's why she didn't want Isom's help. Who knows? It's probably where they're going with this. If I'm a betting man, I would say that this is going to be Jasmine, the character that Isom was looking for, and it's going to turn out that she has superpowers and she's undercover in Darren's operation to expose him, because probably Darren either killed her boyfriend or her brother or somebody she's connected to, right? That's my guess. That is my guess. Now, it's hard for you to see, but there are some extras being offered. We got t-shirts. So Blood Ruth, I guess, is the name of the character that's on the Ethan Van Sciver cover. You can buy a Blood Ruth t-shirt for $30. Why would you want to buy this? See, this is what I don't understand. I know people are going to buy this. There's going to be a whole bunch of Blood Ruth shirts sold. But at this point in time, we know nothing about this character. Why would you, other than to support Eric, other than to fight the culture war, why would you buy this shirt? You have no attachment to the character. The character is unknown to everybody. Does it look cool? Debatable. It looks generic, right? Because again, I don't know anything about Blood Ruth. We got the Rippaverse shirt for $25. For some reason, the Blood Ruth shirt is more expensive. The Rippaverse shirt should have been the more expensive. We got a Catch Street shirt, which features Isom. For $125, you can get cover B signed and graded. $125, you get cover A signed and graded. Didn't get those. You can get the foil embossed, limited to 5,000 for $100. $100 for a foil embossed cover. Okay, so here's the up close look at cover C. Nothing too special. Again, it is foil embossed, $100. It's just a kind of generic, Isom busting through a wall. It kind of looks like a young Jamie Foxx. Now, these standard covers, cover A and B, are $35 each. Some people say it's a ripoff. It's not, it's a 100-page comic, $35. Is it a ripoff? It's hard to say. It's hard to say, right? If you like it, then $35 is probably too cheap. We're like, oh my God, I'm getting so much quality for $35. To me, $35 is way too expensive because I didn't get any quality with the last issue, right? The last issue, I paid $35 for 90 pages of, like I said, prologue, 90 pages of nothing. So to me, $35 is way too much, way too expensive for what I'm getting, right? The actual substance of the book. Maybe for you, $35 to fight the culture war is, cheap. It's easy. $35. Hell yeah, fight the culture war. You could also get a Blood Ruth poster for $28. Again, why would you want to get a poster for a character you know nothing about, just introduced in this campaign? No idea. $100 for the Dokuman cards. 24 hours last chance. I gotta get those magical Dokuman cards. Gotta collect them all. Dokuman. You can buy an Isom hat for $30. And then, of course, you got the package deals. You can get the 2 covers for $63. You can get the 3 covers for $155. You get, what does it look like? 2 covers, a hat, and a shirt for $110. It's the Isom bundle, or you can get the Ruth bundle for $80. And you get the poster, the Blood Ruth shirt, and of course the Blood Ruth Ethan Van Sciver cover. It looks like there's a 3 t-shirt bundle for $85, a 2 t-shirt bundle for $53, some merch pack for $108, a hat and a cover for $57. You can get the catch-up pack, cover A. You get cover A of Isom 1 and cover A of Isom number 2. I will note that Isom number 2's cover A is inconsistent with all the rest of the books, right? Because if you notice here, in the upper left corner, you got the little Isom picture, and you got the number 2, 2023. That is not featured on cover A of Isom number 1. It's not featured on cover B of Isom number 2. I believe it was not on cover B of ISOM number 1 either, or cover C. I don't think it's on cover C either. I gotta say, not hyped for this at all, but maybe the ISOM 2 official trailer will get me hyped. Let's find out. Let's deep dive into this ISOM number 2 official trailer. All right, let's light this candle. Right off the bat, we get the logo, we get the Rippaverse Studios. I'm excited. Excited. Brazen Animation, never heard of them, but they do good work. Like I said, I have seen this trailer already.
Time is a fascinating thing. We often like to think of it as something that just is.
All right, so they're flashing to things that happened in the first issue. If you read the first issue, you'll recognize some of the scenes, some of the players.
But too many people let the past determine who they are. When true greatness.
You see how the animation even stopped? You didn't get the impact of ISOM hitting the car. That's how the book was. Like, it kept denying you the satisfaction of seeing all the impacts, seeing what's going on, the action actually playing out.
Is determined by how one deals with the present. So if I'm helping you, I have one condition.
You had all those characters flash by, you don't know who they are. That's exactly how it is in the book, right? Just characters just coming and going, no idea who any of them are.
Yeah. No more quitting. Time is a gift, ISOM. What are you gonna do with yours?
ISOM number 2. Are you excited? Literally nothing in that trailer showed me why I should be excited for the new issue, right? And we had a couple characters pop up that we haven't seen before, but nothing really of the story or where it's going. Lackluster. The animation was nice. The animation was pretty. But I'm not excited. It didn't get me excited to buy this.
And that right there was what I'd been sitting on. The first official production of Rippaverse Studios is the ISOM 2 trailer.
So the first production of Rippaverse Studios, the ISOM trailer. So apparently they're going to make more stuff. I know Eric did put in the comments, do you want to see more animation? I guess that answer should already be answered, right? If you're having a Rippaverse Studios, then the answer is you're going to give them more animation regardless, right? This was your plan all along.
ISOM 2 is now up for pre-order. You can go get it at Rippaverse.com. Be sure to go visit that. Get all the cool items, the limited items, all of that stuff. This is a long time coming. We're going to be speeding up our release schedule and everything, but we had a lot of growth that we had to do within a year's time.
They had a lot of growth. They made a lot of money, but why was there growth? Literally, you just had to make another comic, right? You really didn't have to do anything else. Was it growth from outside the comic? Was it growth for other ventures, other things?
New warehouse, all of that good stuff, and I'm finally glad that you get to see this.
Eric's really fond of his warehouse. He loves talking about that warehouse, all of his warehouses. He's a warehouse guy. He loves warehouses.
That animation we worked very hard for, and it was fun to certainly get produced, and I already knew you guys were going to dig it, but we worked very hard, and hopefully we can do stuff like that, continue to do stuff like that.
He knew you were going to dig it. He already knew, because Rippaverse fans will just eat up anything that he gives them.
By the audience, your response for it. So when you see it, share it out on all forms of social media. Talk about the book, your experience with it.
He wants you to do all the marketing for him.
You do get your hands on it. Keep talking about ISOM 1.
As long as it's positive, right? Because Eric, he likes when you talk about it positive, but if you talk about it negatively, he's not too happy. He don't like any critiques. He don't like when people say what they feel if it's negative.
Keep talking about the company, all of that stuff, word of mouth. You'd be surprised how far that it goes. But I'm glad that it's finally released.
It's funny because the first campaign, he said he wanted to keep it away from the crackheads, right? He wanted the Twitter weirdos not to get the book. Now he's like, talk about it to everybody. Get everybody to buy it because word of mouth goes a long way.
ISOM number 2, Rippaverse.com. Go place your orders.
Wow. Literally only said promote his book. He didn't actually say anything about it or what it's about or why I should buy it. I mean, kudos for not mentioning the culture war, but really he gave me no reason to buy that. Hey, look, I made some pretty animation and I got a new warehouse and the book is for pre-order. Other than that, why should I buy it? You did not sell me on it. If I was not a fan of Eric July, as I am not, I would not be sold. I would not be buying this, right? The only reason I particularly bought this was because I am a critic. I have been critical of ISOM. And if I'm going to criticize something, I'm going to own it, right? I'm going to take it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to look at it openly and honestly and give you my actual opinion on it. I'm not going to kiss ass and I'm not going to attack anybody. I'm just going to tell you the way I see it. I'm going to call it like I see it. Well, that was my thoughts on ISOM number 2. Let me know what you think in the comments. This video went on way longer than I thought it was going to. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know, did you pre-order it? Are you planning on pre-ordering it? Have you been sold? Did the campaign move you to want to buy more issues? Like I said, let me know in the comments. But until next time, love, peace, booty grease. We out this bitch.